Good morning, Hustle Nation. Today, we're talking all about the power in your voice. And how do you find your voice in this chaotic, loud world? We got a very special guest, Ms. Zen Ase will be joining us, spoken word artist, writer, and activist. Super excited to have this conversation. But when it comes to using your voice, ladies and gentlemen, are you using it in the most effective way? And one of the most effective ways we're going to talk about as we get the show up and running. So do me a favor, go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand and smash that share button. I want to know what you guys got going on. I want to give you a free business shout out. Just don't post any links. But let's go ahead and get this show underway. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally or I've learned from or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network, and when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur for myperfectmoneyplan.com. You guys hear me say this all the time, but if you don't have a plan for your money, I can promise you everybody else does. So I want you to go check out myperfectmoneyplan.com and learn how you could save money, make money, and grow money all at the same time. Partner with yours truly, man, and let me help you get on the other side of capitalism. www.myperfectmoneyplan.com. If you don't have a money plan, then check that out, and I think you'll be thoroughly satisfied. Go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand for that free business shout out. Just do not post any links. Question of the day, man. How effective are you at using your voice? Right? We all have a voice, guys, and we have influence and we have the ability to create change with our voice. But today's question is, how effective are you at using your voice? And if you put QOTD and then leave your answer, that will allow me to enter you into the drawing to win a free vacation. And this week's free vacation went to Sheena Mullen. So put QOTD and then give your answer, and we'll enter you into that drawing. A couple quick announcements before I bring on our very special guest to talk about reclaiming and discovering that voice. Number one is, don't forget, guys, if you love what I'm doing on this show, then you can actually become a supporter of the program, of the page, simply by clicking on the link in the comments to join Hustle Nation. Hustle Nation is our private Facebook group. And for all of our supporters, man. So for $4.99, $5 a month, you can get exclusive access to trainings, teachings, Q&A sessions with yours truly, and plus some of my favorite hustlers on the planet will also give you some of that exclusive access to some of the things that they got going on as well. So you can become a supporter by clicking on the link in the description to support the show and help me keep this thing free and keep this thing going. Also, if you want a free copy of my book, Monetize My Life, all you got to do is go over to thecortezhustleshow.com, and right there on the top of the page, boom, you can click right there and get a free copy of my book, 4 incredibly simple ways to learn how to turn your passions into profits. So thecortezhustleshow.com. Plus, when you're there, you'll see all of the replays of all of our past episodes as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I got a very special guest that I'm going to be introducing this morning. She is a writer, activist, spoken word artist, and she's going to talk to us about the power of the word and the words that come out of your mouth, and also how to use that voice to affect change. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to some of you guys and present to others Miss Zen Ase. Good morning, Queen. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing well. I am doing really well. Now, Zen, before we get started and get into who you are and all of that kind of stuff, we like to start the show off with a quote of the day. And if you have your favorite quote, then you can share one, or you can chime in on this one. So right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the quote of the day is, the definition of hell: on your last day on earth, the person you became will meet the person you could have become. Right. On your last day of earth, this is the definition of hell. The person that you became comes face to face with the person you could have become. And that's from an unknown source. But I want you to think about that. Are you doing everything that you can to unlock all the gifts, all the talents, everything that has been buried in you since the good book says the Lord knew you before he even created you? Are you doing everything that you can? Are you striving for excellence? Are you trying to put all the pieces together to be all that you can and exhaust every effort to be the best version of yourself every single day? Sister Zen, do you have a favorite quote, or you want to chime in on that?
I want to chime in on that one.
All right.
I actually like to say that my goal in life is perfect self-expression, which that quote goes to that, meaning that I die with everything out, that there's nothing, that I'm empty when I die, that there's no dream that I haven't pursued, there's no goal that I haven't reached, that I literally on my deathbed, I can say it is finished.
Love it, love it, love it. That is the deal. And that is the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by, of course, our guest, Ms. Zen Ase. So speaking of Ms. Zen Ase, why don't you take a moment and tell us all who the heck is Zen Ase?
I am a 25-year teacher. So I've been teaching high school for 25 years. And I've been writing since elementary school. I started to get published in elementary, and then got more serious about it when I got into college, and then afterwards. I'm a mother of 2. I'm a grandmother of 4. And I'm an activist. I am a spoken word artist. I create merchandise, with the shirt that I'm wearing is one of my designs. I do workshops on personal development. So I have a lot of irons in the fire. You know, I'm also a podcaster. So I have a podcast called Zen Energy.
Like it. So let's dive right in this morning, because we're talking about the power of the word in general, the spoken word, the written word. I don't think people really understand how powerful words are. And I understood them when I read the book, The 5 Love Languages, right? And my love language is words of affirmation. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me why, if I'm in school and I'm getting joned on, it brings me to tears, right? Because I'm like, I don't understand. They're just words. But when I started to understand, if my love language is words of affirmation, then words that degrade hurt me more than they hurt the average person. So let's dive into why, or what is your definition of the power of words and how we use them in today's construct?
Well, I think it goes back to, if you're a person of faith, you believe that you were created by a creator. And if you believe Genesis, you believe that in the beginning God said, and that you're created in the image of God. So that means that everything starts as a thought, and then it is coming out of your mouth in the words that you speak. And the words that you speak actually reinforce your thoughts, and they actually basically you're creating your world with your words. My name, everybody knows what Zen means. It means peace. But the last part of my name as an artist is Ashe. And that's a Yoruba word that means my words have the power to create reality. My words become reality, and so it also means amen. So, but it's deeper than amen, because amen just means so be it. But Ashe means I speak it, it becomes.
Wow.
Yeah. So it has a lot of meanings, the word Ashe. But when I became a spoken word artist, I started off as Zen, and then I added Ashe because I had learned the power of words, and I realized that we become who we are. And you think about, like, let's say, for example, the Bible, the people that were named, many times they were renamed. Abram became Abraham.
Right.
Sarai became Sarah. If words were not powerful, there would be no need to rename a person. And I think that sometimes we need to rename ourselves. Artists get a chance to name themselves. But I think that we also, just individuals, need to, like, when you come up with your brand, you name yourself. You name your business. You put that tagline. So when you put that tagline, every time you hear it, every time your audience hears it, you are reinforcing your brand image. So those words are actually creating that interaction that you have with the audience. And those words actually create an expectation from your audience. So we don't take full advantage of the words that we have. But if we do, I think the people who do, they are so much more effective. And people who use affirmations, who write out their affirmations, who write out their goals. It is scientifically proven that if you write your goals down, especially if you write it out in a plan, you are 80% more likely to achieve it. 80%.
Yeah.
So they've done studies after study after study for decades, and it's always come back that the words that you speak and the words that you write, they frame your world, and they create expectations in yourself and in others, and they basically just keep you on the right path. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Real quick, getting into your background, have you always known that you were going to be a teacher? It's funny when I think back to Raz and the girls in elementary and middle school. It seemed like they all wanted to be teachers. It's like, because we had some great teachers in the little community I grew up in called Wellston here, right outside of St. Louis. And we had some great, powerful Black women as teachers. And they really made an impression on all the little girls. And most of them wanted to be teachers. Is that something that you always knew? Or is that something that you evolved into as you grew up?
When I was a child, I wanted to be a writer. And you hear a lot of people tell you can't do this and you can't do that, or that's not a way that you'll make a living. And so I kind of got away from that. I took a few journalism classes in college, and I hated the journalistic part of it. So after doing that, I was like, okay, this is not for me. The freelance writing was kind of scary to me because there was no, in a sense, safety net on the income. And I had been teaching, my family comes, they're basically educators and entrepreneurs. So my grandfather had taught. When I was a child, I was the oldest cousin. So my grandmother would take us to the library. She would get all of us books, and I was the only one that could read. So literally, she bought a little chalkboard and I was literally teaching my cousins how to read and reading books to them. And so I say that I was molded to be a teacher from probably the age of 12 through teaching my cousins. But, in college, I was that person who changed the major like 3 times. And then I ended up with English as my major, and because I had business as my major, and then I took a couple of classes that were all about manipulating your clients. And so I was like, okay, that's not me. I'll never be a business person. Let me leave that. And then I took some graphic artists classes. I took some journalism class. I was just all over the map, and I was like, I love words. Let me just go back to English, So that's where the teaching came in. I was like, I know I can teach. I've been teaching. I work for the United Way. I did summer programs for them. When I was finishing up high school, going into college and things like that. So I had been teaching. So I was like, this is natural. I should do what comes naturally. So let me do that.
Love it, love it, love it. And you're teaching the high schoolers, and then it's refreshing to hear of a teacher who understands the power of words, and now you have the ability to share that in all of your teachings, because I know for a fact that there has always been teachers who are quick to tell a kid, and not being mean or trying to curse them, but actually cursing them when they say, you'll never be anything, you're going to end up in jail, or you're going to end up dead, trying to scare them straight to an extent, but really you don't really know which kid is actually going to internalize that. And really, so when you're dealing with our babies, I like to say that we treat our babies as if they are not sick, right? You cannot be in our communities and not be sick as a child, and you see best friends and associates getting killed and all of that kind of stuff. Talk about the environment and the Zen that you create in your classroom for your students. And if you have any stories to share about how you use the power of words, or encourage them to use the power of their words to start shaping their world.
Well, I think first off, it comes from you as a person having certain standards and knowing your vision, so as a teacher, my vision is a place of safety. My vision is a place of respect. And so the very first day of school, you have to set your tone. You have to set your environment. And so I start off saying, every one of you is a high achiever. I don't care your past. And every one of you has potential. I show them this picture of a tiny seed, and I show them a picture of a 100-foot tree that has a face, basically has a face from the branches. And I say, within you, that seed, we all started as a seed, you have potential that you don't even know about yet. You're going to grow into this amazing person, but it takes work. It takes stretching toward the resources, because trees bend toward the light. And so I began to actually tell them from day one, you have greatness. We're going to pull out that greatness. That greatness requires work. And to take risks, we have to have a safe place. So this is going to be a classroom where no one is ridiculed, no one is put down. You have the ability to make mistakes, and no one's going to say, oh my gosh, how could you have done that? Why didn't you know better? Or whatever. Yeah. But so I start off day one with my expectations, and all of those are very affirming, but also very, in a sense, strict because of the fact that I want them to feel safe. And I want them to feel like, okay, this is a place where I'm here to learn, and I'm here to grow, and I'm here to take some risks as a writer, as a speaker, as a thinker. And I also speak to them about that. I say, I teach English, and a lot of you may hate English. I really don't care that you hate English, because it's a life skill. This is not just about, some dead, dusty books. This is about becoming a thinker, a reader, a writer, a communicator, and a problem solver. I tell them those 5 things. I said, I don't care what job you have, you need those 5 skills in life to be successful.
Love it.
So this is what we're going to do every day. We're going to think, read, write, problem solve, and speak. And we're going to learn how to do it effectively. And so from that point of view, a lot of kids who would come into the class with their guard up, I don't need this, I know how to speak English. They are already thinking, oh, I do need to get better at problem solving. Oh, I do need to get better at thinking. I
Yeah.
do need to get better at these different things. So it creates a expectancy in them. So I do believe that, again, you have to be crystal clear on your vision. You have to be crystal clear on your plan and your purpose. And then you communicate that. And when you communicate that, you're putting seeds into the people that you're trying to work with, so that they become, rather than becoming, how can you say, confrontational or, oppositional, they become your team.
Right.
And I also speak about, my kids as being my team. I'm the team leader, but you have a part and a role in this team.
I love that. I love that. And we're gonna it's time for us to get into 1 minute motivation, but I want to plant this in you because I know of the study where they basically lied to the teachers and said, all of these kids are high achievers.
Yeah.
And because of what they thought of the kids before they met them, there was a different outcome. So I want your thoughts on that. And then, of course, we're going to get into a little bit more of your background. But it is 7:22, so it's time for 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. And 1 minute motivation then is an opportunity where I play a 1 minute motivational video, because I am so big on personal growth and self-development in the right direction that I like to start the show off with something positive. So you'll give a takeaway, I'll give a takeaway. And if you're listening and watching live, then go ahead and comment what you hear. Because one of the things I love about this segment is we're all going to listen to the same 1 minute clip, but we're not going to hear the same things, right? So I think that is always pretty cool. So let's get into 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show.
A great life is built not by revolution. A great life is built by evolution. Small and steady wins the race. What you do every day is far more important than what you do once every decade. I want you to really think about that idea. What you do every day is simply your life in miniature. And as you live every single day, so you're crafting your life. What you do over the next hours is really building your future. And if you can just get every single pocket of 24 hours right as best as we humanly can, the rest of our life is going to take care of itself. So small wins matter.
The scripture says we will eat the fruit of our words. You are planting seeds when you talk. At some point, you're going to eat that fruit. My challenge is make sure you're planting the right kind of seeds. If you want apples, you have to sow apple seeds. If you want oranges, you can't plant cactus seeds, poison ivy seeds, mushroom seeds. You're going to reap fruit from the exact seeds that you've been sowing. In other words, you can't talk negative and expect to live a positive life. You can't talk defeat and expect to have victory. You can't talk lack, not enough, can't afford it, never get ahead, and expect to have abundance. If you have a poor mouth, you're going to have a poor life. If you don't like what you're seeing, start sowing some different seeds.
Ooh-wee. So that came right on time. We're talking all about the spoken word. So the ladies first, what did you hear?
Well, I agree with everything he said. I've already talked about seeds, and I talk about seeds a lot because I definitely believe that what you sow, you will reap. It is a law of the universe. And so you have to be careful with what you are speaking. And I don't even feel like you should even joke like, man, these kids are killing me. I don't even think you should say stuff like that. Yeah. I really do. That's the extent that I take it to.
I love it. I love it, man. I think when he spoke about evolution, I want us all to get, I want you to comment write in the comments, permission to evolve. Some of us have yet to give ourselves permission to grow and evolve. And we know there's a greater person for us to become, but we're stuck in the proverbial box. And I think he said it's about evolution, right? Evolving. Those little daily things, right? There's a famous quote that says, success is not built in a day, but it is built daily. What you do every day matters. And then he said, the small wins. Celebrate the small wins. And that's, I think, I want to really hone in on that, because a lot of times if we're not making major strides, we see all of those little incremental changes as insignificant. But no, that's what creates the big changes, is those small incremental changes. You look back over a year, over a 5-year span, and you're like, man, my life is radically different. But while you were going through those incremental changes, you couldn't tell that anything was changing, right? It's kind of like when your children are growing up in front of your eyes. It's like, man, I look back one day and this dude got a full-blown mustache and everything else. When did that happen, right? Because it was coming in 1 or 2 hairs at a time, right? So give yourself permission to evolve, and make sure that you take particular care of the things that you are doing every day. Be intentional and celebrate those small wins, ladies and gentlemen, because they are important. That is 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the Zen Ase version of 1 Minute Motivation. So we were talking before we went into 1 Minute Motivation about the famous study where they took kids who were not performing particularly well, and they put them in classrooms with new teachers, but they told the teachers that these kids were geniuses. And because the teachers had a different expectation of the children, they treated them differently. Can you give us your thoughts on that particular study, and how we could really pay attention to our expectations of people instead of, judging them for their path?
Well, I have always said teachers a lot of times get all these negative reports about, oh, you got Billy in your class. Oh my gosh, Billy is just a handful, that kind of thing. I have always said, I don't want to hear that, because whatever happened for you has nothing to do with what's going to happen for me. Number one, that was a year ago. And we know how much children can change in a week, a day, much less over a summer. So that really is, ridiculous. People learn and grow all the time. So expectations, I believe, we talk about the power of words. I believe that you should speak not only over yourself, but over the people that you are involved with. So before I even go into a classroom, before I even start a year, I've already been putting out into the universe my intentions that, I have these certain goals for my students, and I begin to speak them. I begin to speak them to myself before I ever see these kids. And then I begin to speak them to them, as I said, starting on the first day. Yeah. So number one, you're reinforcing to yourself. I remember watching, I think it was the Marva Collins story when she had started her school, and how she was speaking to those children. A lot of those children were coming to her because they couldn't make it anywhere else. They've been kicked out of every other school. Right. And then she is speaking to them about their greatness. She's speaking to them about their ability to learn. And has these extremely high expectations of these children. Some of them that couldn't even read, she had them reading like the Iliad by the end of the year, which is, in a sense, educationally impossible, but it's done. Because they say that you can grow 2 grade levels in reading in a year, but that's what they say. That's what they can prove. You can grow much more than that. It all depends on effort, expectation, encouragement, all those kind of things. So having the expectation high but achievable, and also you were talking about recognizing small wins. Teachers do a lot of things to help kids recognize small wins. They put stickers on papers. They put stamps on papers. They put, they have little boards where they put up, you're in the green, you're in the yellow, you're in the red. Oh, you stayed in the green all week. Look at you. So we're talking about elementary sometimes, but I do a lot of stickers in high school. We get kids to notice when they're moving forward. Yeah. So they see, okay, I'm not where I was. I may not be at 100, but I'm not at a 50. I'm getting better. So as adults, we need to do that too. I have a planner full of stickers. I highlight all the goals. I have my to-do list. I put a sticker You know, when I finish
Dang.
my to-do list, sticker, sticker, sticker. So you open it up. And then when I go to the next day, what that does is I look at, oh my gosh, look at all the things I've accomplished already.
Mm.
Even though they were small things, they were building towards my goals. So
Right.
as I'm flipping through that planner, I'm seeing just accomplishment after accomplishment after accomplishment. And in my particular planner, it has a monthly reflection. So at the end of the month, you reflect on what were like the 3 biggest things you accomplished.
Yeah.
You know? So that's a good thing.
Love it, love it, love it. So let's talk about your transition into, because it sounds like as a teacher, that activism part, and even you said in high school you was kind of working with some of the community programs. I think you said United Way or one of those programs. So how, I know you said you are a 3rd generation activist. Let's talk about the activism part of Zen, which all makes sense. The name, the spoken word and all that stuff. You got that activist vibe. So did you realize that that's the stock you were coming from? Or did you not really know the impact that your parents and your grandparents were having as they were doing their thing?
I had little glimpses, you know. In high school, I realized that I thought a little different. In college, I realized I was a little more militant in a sense. And then it really came to fruition, like full fruition, about 6 years ago. But my grandparents, they work with the Freedom Riders a lot. They would actually sit on the porch when the Freedom Riders would come back from riding with shotguns so that they could sleep at night. And they didn't have to worry about somebody yanking people out of the house to, you know, lynch them, whatever. That was my grandparents. My parents, my aunts and uncles, they did a lot of marches. My great uncle, he's actually in the history books, John Burrell Garner. You can look it up, you know, Garner versus Louisiana. That was actually the Supreme Court case that desegregated lunch counters. So it was argued by Thurgood Marshall, and that's when those lunch counters became desegregated. So that was my uncle who was the face of that case.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I went to my first protest when I was like 13. And so it was kind of part of my growing up, you know, in a sense. My parents, my aunts and uncles had registered people to vote. There was when I turned 18, before I turned 18, it was you were voting. In this house we vote. In this house we go to college. We vote and we go to college. Okay, so there we go.
Yeah.
You know, just in case you had any misconceptions. You know, we worked too hard to get this right for you not to vote.
Right.
So it was. I had a slightly different upbringing, I guess, than some people.
Yeah, and I love it, and I want to dive into that because I want you to also cross over into your entrepreneurial endeavors. And I know at one point you had kind of lost your voice, and then you had to find it. So we definitely want to go there. But I want to speak to our parents because it's the same way that you speak to those children, and we use the power of these words. And by the way, we have not answered the question of the day. It is, how do you use your voice, right, to make impact? Put QOTD and then give your answer so that you can get entered into the drawing to win the free vacation. How are you using your voice to make an impact? I think sometimes as parents, and I am certainly guilty of this, and my youngest is 19 and now they're into young adulthood. But when they are little, we treat them like other than little human beings, right? Because it's all about what I say, what I do, or the rules and the rigidity of us trying to protect them. But they are also emotional beings just like us. And those things could have an effect on how we're raising them as well. So speaking over your children is important. But I think what I want to get from you is, as parents, when we are the importance of speaking the words, but also giving them a voice, and also exposing them to different things, irregardless of whether they, because I don't think your parents said, hey, you're probably going to love this protest, so let's go. It's like, no, you're going to this protest So the importance of exposing them to different things when they're young, even if it's against, some of the things that they might like to do.
I think again, it's all about vision. It's what vision do you have? Of course, most parents have the vision of wanting their children to be everything they can be. I, as a parent, I was strict on a lot of things. My kids could only watch like 2 hours of TV, like video games and TV together was like 2 hours. So besides that, it was homework, it was reading, it was going outside to play, it was having conversations in the house. It was those kind of things. So we had a certain structure, and I made my kids read 30 minutes a day, every day. And they didn't always like that, so, but to me, to develop thinkers, you have to be exposed to things. And there's a lot of programs out there. After I got divorced, I did kind of lose my voice in my marriage. But after I got divorced, I was like, okay, they don't have a father in the home. So I want to enrich their lives as much as possible. So in Houston, they have a little magazine that comes out called Kids. And it has like every program for that month that is related to children. And I would literally try to take my kids to everything I could do, everything I could afford, everything I had the time for. I had them in college during the summers when they were in high school. So I was trying to expose them to everything possible, because I felt like the more I exposed them to, the broader their horizons were going to be, and the more that they would see limitless possibilities. And so there's a lot of things going on in many communities that people don't know about because they don't look for them. But if you look, you generally find, things going on in community centers, or, all kind of grant programs that'll help get different things for your children. So I just encourage people to look for those things.
I love that too, because that exposure, and then also different conversations. We have a tendency to, even as adults, not put ourselves in situations where we know people think differently or in opposition to the way we think. And in order to be balanced, you have to know what the other side is thinking, right? We don't tend to congregate with people we disagree with. And I think that is a huge, huge, huge mistake for us as adults, but especially children as well. They need to hear different conversations, because they're going to hear that for the rest of their lives. And you need to know how to respond to someone who doesn't agree with you, and they are just as on fire with their position as you are on fire with your position. Well, how can y'all converse if you have never heard that position, or you had never heard anybody as passionately opposing what you believe, right? So I think that is critically important. Now, you've mentioned losing your voice and kind of, I have a guy who I worked with a couple years back, and he's great in coaching and mentoring. And he would say all the time, he said, every woman has an identity crisis. I was like, well, what do you mean? He said, yeah, because from the time they are born, they are taught to find their identity in everything and everybody else. So when they get into even as early as elementary school, their identity is in trying to find the right boy. And then they marry, their identity is in their husband. And then they have kids, their identity is in their kids. And then the kids get grown and gone. And then their kids start having grandkids. And now their identity is in their grandkids. And like they never find who they are. So it sounds like you kind of experienced a little bit of that. Talk about that, and what was the pathway to getting back to finding your voice?
Well, there was some abuse in my past. I was sexually abused and kind of physically abused by a couple of members of my family, not my immediate family, but outside. So that causes some issues. And then when I got married to really the first person that I really thought saw me. And growing up kind of in the church, you're taught, oh, you need to find a good Christian man, somebody who goes to church and prays and all that. And so I was doing the whole let's wait for marriage thing and all of that. And so I was very naive about a lot of things. And didn't expose myself to a lot of things because I was trying to follow the advice that I had been given. And so I ended up married and didn't really understand that the person that I had married was controlling and abusive and violent until, later into the relationship. And so in the whole process of trying to be a good wife, be a good mother, not upset him, I just kind of let go. Anything he didn't like, I let go of. Anything he didn't want me to do, I stopped. I was completely, when you talk about submissive, I was the epitome of submissive, but that's really not what submissive means. But at the time, I didn't understand.
Right.
I thought, you talk about obey. Oh, I obeyed completely. I obeyed to the point that I lost myself.
Gotcha.
And so when I realized that he and I were completely incompatible, and I needed to make a decision, even though at that time it went against my faith, which was divorce. At that time, it went against what I felt were my family's expectations, which everybody in my family had been married, stayed married, except for one person. So I came from a culture of you made your bed and lie in it. That was the culture that I came from. You are a woman, you are a wife, you are a mother. Your first priority is your family and not necessarily yourself. So I said, okay, I'm not going to believe any of these things anymore. This is not working for me. I don't think it's going to work for my kids. This is not a safe environment. This is not a healthy environment. I need to leave.
Yeah.
So that was the first part of finding my voice. As you said, giving myself permission to evolve. And I had to say, okay, some people are going to see me as a failure. Some people are going to see me as selfish. Some people are going to disagree with what I'm doing. But they're not, they weren't there.
Right.
They didn't know what happened. They didn't see what happened. And, so I think part of finding your voice is stopping the desire to please everybody.
Ooh-wee. Go ahead.
Because at the end of the day, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I did the right thing for my life and for me. Yeah. And I took care of me. So that was my first step towards finding my voice, was giving myself permission to disappoint people, to not be what they expected. And to say,
let me stop you right there. Because what I want to pivot, because I know you have thoughts on this, because what you're bringing up is something my man Derek Grace talks a lot about, is traditionalism. Right. And that, I think that, man, we haven't evolved our traditions to fit where we are today. And there's a lot of us, most of us, I would say 80-90% of us are operating on old intel, right? Think about it. If I was running my laptop today on the first processor that came out for computers, I wouldn't be able to stream. I wouldn't be able to do video. I wouldn't be able to do any of that because that intel is old, it's outdated. So you talked about not disappointing people, and your family said, family first, don't think about yourself. But that's traditionalism. And who cares that you're hurting and that your hurt could end up causing you to hurt the children or make bad decisions for the children? The tradition is we don't get divorced around here. So suck it up, soldier. Is that what you experienced?
Well, and it was more of a, I can't say that anybody came out and verbally said that, but it had been so instilled in me by seeing people put up with infidelity, which I did. I stayed, even though my husband was unfaithful, seeing people put up with verbal and physical abuse and seeing them stay. And I stayed for quite a while. So I had to say, okay, that worked for them to a certain degree. Maybe it didn't work for them at all, but they chose it. I don't have to choose it.
Yeah.
I have a choice. And that is another powerful thing, realizing that just because you made a choice doesn't mean you gave up your choice. Yes, I made a choice to get married. I walked into that, but I don't have to stay in that choice. I can actually make a new choice. And that new choice is to say, this is no longer going to work for me. And I waited until I felt like I had done everything possible. I had tried counseling. I had tried fast and praying. I had tried being, like I said, giving up my complete identity to please this person. That didn't work.
Yeah.
I felt like I had tried everything. So I could say for myself, I've done everything I know to do. It has not worked. This is not getting better. And I don't see it ever getting better. I need to leave.
Yeah.
And regardless of what people say, I'm going to leave.
I love it, because we got to get beyond, I think, the most damaging thing that we allow to take place in our lives is what I call the root cause of fear. The root cause of fear is what we think other people are going to think about the decisions that we are making. First of all, we're thinking about what somebody else is going to think. We don't even know if that's what they think. We just think they think that, and we let that govern our decisions. Second thing is, what other people think about me ain't none of my business. Because can't nobody control what I think. So why do I care what other people think? And I think that is a huge, huge mistake. But really, I'm glad. So you got through and realized that, hey, man, this is going to tick some people off, but it's going to free and liberate me to start to grow and evolve into the person that I need to be for these two boys or these children, to make sure that they grow up healthy, strong, breaking the cycle. Talk about that first feeling of liberation when you got beyond that and you finally got to inhale, exhale, like, wow, I'm free to become or to decide or to figure out who I'm going to be for the rest of my life.
Well, that was a long time coming, because I ended up getting married again. Mm-hmm. And I married someone who was great for my children. Oh my gosh, pretty much 90% of the perfect father. And I'm so grateful that I met this person because of my sons. And I felt like, okay, this is wonderful. 2 years into the relationship, I realized, oh, we are not compatible. And we're great parents. Oh my God, we're great parents. But no. So I stayed into that relationship until my kids graduated, because I felt like I owed them a father, and they had an amazing father who loved them, like they were his blood children, you know what I'm saying? So when I left that relationship and my kids were 18 then, that's when I actually was like, okay, I need to focus on me. I need to go back to the dreams that I had. I need to go back to the person that got lost. Where's that person? Let me go find that person. And it was a lot of journaling. It was some therapy. It was just meditation. And I went on a different path. So you were talking about traditionalism. Part of my path was leaving the church and looking into a more ancient form of spirituality, which is, Kemet was the original name of Africa. I actually went through an initiation. So going to find my identity took me to a lot of places, a lot of different experiences, a lot of books, a lot of workshops, a lot of searching, and then I found, in a sense, the full, complete me that was not, I had been kind of boxed in by religion, by tradition, by the roles of mother and wife. And I said, okay, I'm going to take all those boundaries off and just be myself in my fullness. And I'm going to explore who that is. And that led to starting a business. Actually, I have 3 of them now, so it led to performing, it led to publishing, it led to so many things, because now I'm just expressing the fullness of myself and going back to all of those dreams and realizing that there's no limit, there's no limit, just moving forward. And next step.
And that evolution, again, giving yourself permission to evolve and not say, okay, third time's a charm. Traditionalism says I should be married. I should live my life this way. No, you should live. Whatever that means to you, you should live, people. And I think hopefully that's what people are getting from this conversation. It's like you owe it to yourself to live. I remember a conversation that I study wealthy people, billionaires, and Jay-Z being one of my favorites. And I remember his story talking about his mom, who is, I think she's in the same-sex marriage now, finding the love of her life and really finally being able to breathe and let all of that stuff come out. And traditionalism would have had that woman suffocating until she dies, right? But now she's able to live. So hopefully you guys who are listening, you are getting that. You owe it to yourself to live, man, whatever that definition is for you, and not let anybody else define it. Now, if you are living in the confines of religion, I'm a Christian man, Christian entrepreneur, and I am living in that. But if that is suffocating you, then you owe it to yourself to at least explore what it means to live beyond that. So your journey as an entrepreneur, right? I see very few teachers cross over into the world of entrepreneurship, right? How is that journey, and how are things going for you in business? And feel free to let the folks know what you got going on and how they can partner with you or purchase from you and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I did not set out to be an entrepreneur. It was not my life plan or whatever. My mother had been an entrepreneur. She sold everything under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to write. I started to perform, and then I started to go a lot of different places. And when I was at one particular venue, he said, I want you to create a show for me. I knew nothing about creating shows, but I was taught, again, if the opportunity shows itself, you take it. Even if you don't know what you're doing, figure it out along the way.
Wait a minute. We got to run that one back because people got to get this. Right. Yeah. This is a huge success principle. Say it one more time. If opportunity shows up, you do what?
Presents itself, you take it. And if you don't know what you're doing, figure it out along the way. So I said to him, give me a month and I will have a show for you. And I literally went to my artist friends. Okay, I'm going to need a DJ. I'm going to need somebody that does flyers. I had been networking forever. I just grew up networking. I don't even know. I guess that was instilled in me by my mother. So I had a whole Rolodex of people that I knew. And I just started calling people. I'm going to have a show. Would you be on it? 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 And everybody that I spoke to said yes, except for one. And I came up with my whole concept. I came up with basically my vision. Had no business plan, none of that. Just the vision, the concept, the basic bare bones of what I wanted to do. Went and got my DBA. Okay. And then we put on the first show. And so I've been doing that for 2 years, live shows, comedy, music, and poetry. Nice. And work with over 85 artists in the city of Houston. I've worked with artists all over the country who come in to do my show. So we've done award shows, we've done fashion shows, and we've done what we call activism, meaning through the show, we've done blanket drives, school supply drives, food drives. In fact, because of the show, we did what we call the Survivor Seminar, which was 8 shows back to back. And they all had basically the theme of survival, being a survivor. So we had all kinds of, experts come in as a part of the show. We had these little, like maybe 15-minute kind of coaching sessions about different topics. And actually, I got a Congressional Award from Sheila Jackson Lee because of the activism and what was happening in the community of Houston. Gotcha. So I'm actually a Congressional Award winner that came from that show that I had.
You had no clue. It came from you saying yes, is what it came from.
Yeah.
You saying yes to something that you knew nothing about, but being willing to take a risk. How can folks get in touch with you if they want to buy some of your merchandise or see your products, your earrings, that kind of stuff? Tell the people how they can support you in all that you're doing.
Well, I'm going to show you one little thing real quick. They can get in touch with me. My website is laughzand LAUGHZAND lyrics.com. I do have inspirational merch. So this is what I call a smiley. It's basically, it looks like business cards, but they all have different inspirational messages on them. I also have inspirational bookmarks. These are magnetic. So they actually fit on a page so they won't fall off. And I have a personal development package. This is what it looks like. This is $15. Nice. So you get a workbook, you get a journal, motivational band, stickers, a bookmark, and tabs. And each page has a different concept. So this is what mine looks like. That's filled in. So like, this is abundance. So you have a place to put like an ancestor, somebody that inspires you in that area, contemporary, you know, your goal picture, a song, a movie, a book, an affirmation. And then you have journal prompts, you know, and so you go through each page and you get to know yourself and find your voice in that area.
You go. I love it. Absolutely love it. So Laughz with a Z, A-N-D, lyrics.com.
Yes.
All right. I got it. Well, we've got time for a quick freestyle, sis, because I know you got bars. So on the Cortez Hustle Show, we like to do a freestyle, and no, it's not rapping, even though you're a lyricist. We won't put it to music, but it's you saying in the next 90 seconds, if the conversation hasn't evolved to something that you wanted to really say, now is your opportunity to say it right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. It is freestyle, the Zen Ase version. Hit them, Queen.
Well, I just want to encourage everybody out there to follow your passion, wherever that leads you. It led to me starting the live show. It led to me creating merchandise that's inspirational merchandise, like the shirt that I'm wearing. It led to the personal development package that I have. It led to my podcast, Zenergy, which, as you mentioned, is about small changes, creating big results, focusing on just one concept a week, you know, and trying to explore that and put that into your life and really think about how you can improve in that area. I just want to encourage people, like I said, you have so much potential in you. You just have to just take the first step, plant those seeds, and then just let a lot of things go. Realize that you're not going to get everything right. You're not going to know how to do everything. But I believe in divine intervention, divine timing, and also just divine help. And if you are a vessel, if you are willing to be led and willing to be guided, it'll happen. You know, you just take one step at a time, put forth the effort, and things will fall into place. Synchronicity, those divine accidents, you know, that we need. So those are some of the encouraging words I have for you.
Love it, love it, love it. That is freestyle right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, the Zen Ase version, guys. We have been listening to, learning from writer, spoken word artist, activist, teacher, educator, producer, creator, entrepreneur, Zen Ase. That brings us to the top of the hour, guys. So until we talk to you guys next time, we want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.